Supreme Court heads into the last 2 weeks of its term, they have a lot of big decisions to make, from global warming issues to Walmart's job discrimination case. Here at CGR, however, we're mostly concerned with the impending decision concerning the restriction of sales of violent video games to minors in California. The case, formerly known as Schwarzenegger versus Merchants Association, is now known as Brown versus Entertainment Merchants Association. Essentially, it was a 2005 California law was enacted to restrict the selling of video games to minors and required labeling beyond the ESRB rating. Even before this bill became a law, the Entertainment Merchants Association began to fight the impending law, afraid that this violent video game definition would affect the industry negatively. In 2007, the district court ruled for the ESA, citing that there was insufficient proof to link violent video games with violent acts, and extra restrictions aside from the ESRB ratings violated minors' First Amendment rights. But right after this decision, California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger appealed the ruling. The ruling stood. In 2009, Schwarzenegger appealed to the Supreme Court, who agreed to hear the case again. The film industry, broadcasters, and music industry officials stand behind the EMA, scared that if the court rules against the freedom of video games, what will it mean for their industries? The decision will be here before the end of the month. But since the advent of video games, they have spawned controversy, especially due to some games' violent content. In 1997, 13-year-old Noah Wilson was stabbed to death by his friend, identified in the court records as Yancey S. Noah's mother, Andrea Wilson, filed a lawsuit against Midway Games for their game Mortal Kombat, saying that Yancey was so obsessed with Mortal Kombat, he thought he was the character Cyrax, and he thought he was performing a finishing move on Noah, which involved stabbing. But Cyrax doesn't even have this finishing move. Andrea Wilson did not win, and Midway was not held responsible for her son's death. Then there was the Columbine shooting. The shooters apparently had been obsessed with the game Doom. There was not enough evidence to link the game to the Columbine shooters' violent acts. Plenty of people, myself included, love and played Doom extensively with no violent repercussions, so the court really couldn't fault the game. Many of these incidents have loose links to video games, teens who were avid Grand Theft Auto players going on violent crime sprees, a young boy's suicide note claiming he jumped off a 24-story building because he wanted to be reunited with his fellow Warcraft 3 players. There was also a teenager in Ohio who killed his mom in attempts to kill his dad after they took away his Halo 3 game, and then a similar story in Pennsylvania tells of a 16-year-old boy bludgeoning his mother to death after she took away his PlayStation 3. While these stories are troubling and scary, there are few statistics and very little evidence to suggest that there's any type of causal relationship between violent acts and violent video games. In fact, several studies show positive effects of video games, such as improved hand-eye coordination, better motor skills, ability to focus, and even violent games such as Grand Theft Auto effectively and positively relieving stress. With the Supreme Court's decision almost upon us, we assume that the California bill will be scrapped based on the First Amendment, but it's also very interesting to wonder why fake violence in games like GTA pleases us so. But after a long day, all I want to do is fight bosses, even if it is only an epic Mickey.